Never come to fruition, a Kennedy endorsing a Republican. Let's bring in Diana London, a spokeswoman for America First PAC. And John Reid is a radio host and conservative commentator. Thank you both for coming on. Diana, if I could start with you on this, just the shift, the seismic shift, if you will, with the announcement from RFK Jr. What does that do to the Harris campaign? What does that say to the Democratic Party? And does it help Trump?
Well, good morning. It's great to be with you guys. First of all, we welcome Kennedy onto our side here. Let's make America healthy again. But I will say this morning, this election will come down to turnout, because both sides at this point are extremely enthusiastic for their candidates. There was no enthusiasm under Biden, but that's not the case anymore. So this will come down to the margins in this election, which is why we believe that this election will be won in the battleground states: Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, Arizona, North Carolina. Billions of dollars, and I want to repeat that again, billions of dollars will be poured into these states for Harris, trying to convince the people that on day one, Harris is going to fix everything wrong with the country and the world, which we know is laughable. But that's why you will see that super PACs such as ours and many other are going to be extremely important to Donald Trump's victory, considering 89% of the news coverage he receives every day is negative. So he is going to have to spend billions of dollars on TV ads and town halls to get his message out, which is what we are going to do today. So I believe Kennedy's endorsement of Trump was very strategic, very important. I think we will see him on the campaign trail every day. We will be out there just as well, targeting only swing voters in the battleground state and making sure that they not only vote, but they get out and bring everybody with them. That's how we're going to win this election. And everyone, we will win this election, and I believe it.
Now, to elaborate on RFK Jr.'s endorsement, he went on X, formerly Twitter, and he said what he thinks MAGA means: make America great again, saying it recalls a nation brimming with vitality, with a can-do spirit, with hope and a belief in itself. It was an America that was beginning to confront its darker shadows, could acknowledge the injustice of its past and present, yet at the same time could celebrate its successes. John, what's your response to that? Do you agree?
I was thrilled when I saw that. I was kind of mad at myself that I didn't think of writing something like that. That's the elevator speech that we have needed for probably 7 or 8 years now for what MAGA is, because it's always surprised me how many Democrats are really hostile to the idea of make America great again. And I look at it and go, being a great country, isn't that a good thing? Can't you acknowledge that there were great things about our past and we want to replicate that going forward? Not excusing errors in the past or problems in the past. And here we have a Kennedy who has very concisely summed up the entire thought process. And I got to think that coming from him, there are people who will embrace Donald Trump and the MAGA agenda. And this story of Robert Kennedy Jr. breaking with the Democrat Party, you know, the prince of the royal family of the Democrat Party, he's just the beginning, because I think it's an underreported story over the last several years how many Democrats are fed up with the way left lurch of their party, and they haven't made as big a deal of it as Robert Kennedy Jr. has, and quite frankly, the press in New York and elsewhere hasn't covered it the same way they have a Liz Cheney or a Denver Riggleman or Adam Kinzinger or some of the Republicans who everybody knows their name because they've abandoned the Republican Party. And I suspect if we look around, we're going to find there are a lot of Democrats who feel like Robert Kennedy Jr. does.
I'm curious about Congressman Dean Phillips, right? He had his ambitions there for a run on the Democratic ticket, which the DNC seemingly blocked just everyone out of this. And you would not be in, would you be in this position if they allowed RFK Jr. to debate President Joe Biden? Either way, this is where he is. And Diana, you touched on this, how important the swing states are. And that's where he's pulling his name off the ballot. So there's no confusion in those major swing states. RFK Jr., speaking of, that 2-3 point nudge, that if that goes in Trump's favor, that really could push this election forward in Trump's favor.
Oh, absolutely. And I think the margin is 6 to 7%. That's what we see. Listen, we're talking to people every single day on the phone in these battleground states. It is very clear. One, I believe that the media is doing all of the bidding for Harris. So Donald Trump's going to have to work overtime, and super PACs like us are going to have to work overtime to make sure that these undecided voters know exactly what's on the line, why his policies are important. And I think Kennedy is going to be a great spokesperson for the president out there because he resonates with these battleground states. But we're talking to them every single day. They're motivated by the economy. They're motivated by the border and the problem that the border is causing, which I just want to make something very clear. Kamala Harris has been in charge of the border, and it is out of control. And there are towns in our country that you wouldn't even know that are affected by this open border crime. You have Colombian and Chilean cartels that are fleeing over the border that are not able to be caught, and they're coming into our towns and they're robbing houses at gunpoint. I hope that we talk more about this, but everyday Americans are affected by this and no one is talking about it. And then obviously our economy and avoiding World War III. I believe that that's what our swing states care about when it comes to the economy and safety and things that affect every day. And so I believe that this election will be won on that. And we're going to talk about it every single day with voters on the phone.
So despite that track record, Democrat nominee Kamala Harris, she raised $540 million in little more than a month since she began her race for president. That's according to her campaign. They sent out a statement saying, quote, "This is the most ever for any presidential campaign in this time span." John, your reaction to that, because the way they spun it there makes it seem like she just has a wealth of money coming in. But we know Donald Trump raised a lot of money.
Yeah. Listen, any press release from the Democrats right now, I would take with a grain of salt. I'm not saying they didn't raise a lot of money. They probably did. There were a lot of people who just couldn't stomach the idea of Joe Biden continuing on in the role of president because he clearly was incompetent, clearly is suffering from some form of dementia. I mean, anybody who's had a grandfather knows what you're looking at when you see him. So I think they were holding their money back. I don't think that this is as much an endorsement of Kamala Harris as the wonderful candidate for the Democrats as it is, thank God you guys figured out that we were going to lose with Joe Biden, and now you've got at least a shot at it. The problem is that, as we saw from her speech, I don't think anybody thought it was a great speech. I don't think she did a great job. She still hasn't done the interviews, and there's a reason she doesn't do the interviews, because she's not very good on her feet. And that's coming from somebody who worked with all these senators when I was a senior staffer at the Capitol. I'm kind of shocked that she doesn't comport herself with a deeper knowledge and isn't more nimble in these interviews. If you go back and watch the tapes over the last 4 years, she's just not good at this. And that's going to be a problem if we can ever get away from the national media covering up for her, and they actually start covering her like they would a regular candidate. I'm hoping we're about to get to that place now, because she's not going to do well.
36 days today without an interview with media. She may sit down this week. That's what we've heard, though we don't know which outlet or who would be doing the interviewing. There's a lot of skepticism if she sits down with ABC News, the very same outlet that is doing the debate, how that may not look so well. Diana London joining us, as well as John Reid. Thank you both. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, new report is out.